Hi guys, welcome once again to Bar Talk with Ola. My name is Mujila Oluwa, and today I want to share with you 5 tips that can help you get through law school classes. When I say law school, I'm talking about the Nigerian law school. If you've been to the law school, which I'm hoping that you haven't, so that this video can, be more appropriate and useful for you, or if you're currently in law school, you would know and agree with me that the classes can be a piece of work. So I'm going to be sharing 5 tips that helped me and that can help you ace your law school classes. Tips that can make it more bearable, that can make it easier for you to, scale through the classes, because you know that going to class attendance is crucial. Apart from the attendance that's been taken, that we're all told that that's the basis for admittance into writing examinations. You know that attending classes can be very crucial to excelling in law school or passing at all. So I'm going to be sharing these 5 tips today that would help you get through the law school classes, no matter how long or boring they are or may seem. Now, law school classes start from 9 a.m. and they end by 4, 5. Sometimes they last till like 6, even 7 p.m. Yes, you all know that civil litigation classes, if you're a lawyer, bear me witness, and if you're in law school currently, you would also bear me witness. Civil litigation classes can be very, very long, but a typical law school class is from 9 to 4 or 5. So there are 2 breaks within. There's a short break around like 11, I think 11:30 to 12 p.m. and then there's like a long break between, I think, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Yes, those are the 2 breaks that you have, but notwithstanding, they can be quite challenging. But as challenging as they may seem, they are not insurmountable. So the first tip for acing law school classes or getting by law school classes is to get to class early. Get to class early. That's the first tip. Law school tradition is that when you get to class, you have to sign. You have to sign in, clock in. There are clocking in machines that you have to go thumbprint in the morning and then thumbprint out in the evenings. So you know that you have to mark attendance, and we're told that at least, I think, 80%, I'm not sure about the percentage now, but there's like a percentage of attendance that you need before you can qualify to write the law school exams. Honestly, I don't know if that has ever been enforced against anyone, but that's what we're told, and that's what we're made and led to believe while in law school. So you have to go early so that you can clock in and so that you can get a good spot. Usually in law school, once people have picked a spot during the first, second week, they most times stay in that spot throughout law school. If that works for you, fine. If it doesn't, there's no rule against changing your seats. But essentially, you need to go to school early, go to class early so that you can get a vantage seat. And then there are some seats that are reserved for some people. I don't know if it's general. I went to Kano campus, by the way. Hi, Bagaudans. So in my law school, the front row, middle front row, because the class had 3 wings and we're over 1,000. So the middle front seats was reserved for members of the SRC. That's the class leaders, the student reps that were elected when we got to law school. So most of them sit on that front row. And then there were some like big men too, older men rather, that came to law school that would also sit in that space. So that space was like reserved for them. Because they were already sitting there was no one that would contend it with them. And then there's the back seats called House of Lords. That's for unserious elements, latecomers and what have you. But do not believe that, because trust me, those guys are full of surprises. So if you think, oh, I want to be unserious, so I'm going to sit in the House of Lords, best believe you might be setting yourself up for a rude shock, because the person you're joking and sitting and chatting in class with and being unserious together with might just come out with the first class. So it's not exactly for those class of people that are perceived to always sit there, but it's just called House of Lords because those people, they are believed to be unserious, so they would even contribute because they were separated themselves from the class. Also, they are lords on their own. They're like a House of Lords. They make decisions. If they want to rouse a rabble in class, they can do that. They can do whatever they like to do, and less attention is concentrated on that aspect of the class, even by lecturers, because it's far back. So those are like the 2 main special spots. Anyone can practically sit anywhere else in class. For me, I sat in different spots. Eventually, I narrowed it to the middle right of the class, middle right towards the middle right door of the class. So the first point is get to class early so you can clock in on time and so you can get a good seat. Get to class early and so that you can be settled before the class. Law school lectures start by 9 a.m. And the good thing and the different thing from your university is that lecturers do not miss classes. They don't. I don't even think they have excuses for missing classes. They live on campus and they're practically always available. So they never miss classes. And even if one person has to miss a class, there would always surely be someone to deputize and to step in for them. So do not even bank on, oh, free period or anything. Law school lecturers never miss classes. And they would come in at exactly 9 a.m. If they come a little later than that, there might be a reason which they would explain and apologize for, most possibly. But they almost always come in 9 and they come on time and they come all the time. So get to class early. For me, since class was 9, I usually left the hostel around 8:30 a.m. because I had to walk down. Everyone had to walk down anyways, except you had a personal car because there were no shuttles within the campus. So if since my hostel was far off, I had to walk down like maybe 10 minutes. So I just gave myself the allowance of 20 minutes to queue up, thumbprint, and get a seat. So you might want to do that. You might give yourself the allowance of an hour to leave your hostel and get to class, but you know you have to wake up earlier than that. But it's important to get to class early. I'm not part of those people who would now wake up and go and queue up as early as 5 a.m. People did this, and there are even pictures circulating to that effect in my time because, you know, people wanted to sit in front, people wanted to pick a particular spot, and for so many other reasons, people would go to class when it was still dark. There's absolutely no reason for that, and there's also no reason for you to come later than time. You don't have to miss attendance, and you don't have to come and be the last person to thumbprint. What if the thumbprinting machine is not working on that day? Or what if there's a slight change, or there's a slight delay, or, you know, the queue is not moving as fast as you expected? So many things could come into play. So just give yourself the allowance of 30 minutes or 40 minutes, you know, between the time you leave your campus and the time you get into your seat for each day. So get to class early. It settles you as well. Get to class early, very important. The second tip that I want to share today is pick a vantage spot. Pick a vantage spot for sitting. So if you have respiratory challenges, you might want to pick a window seat. That's if the ACs are not working. So you might want to pick a window seat or a seat close to the door so that you could, you know, dash out and exhale if it's getting too much. If you have any challenge whatsoever, pick a seat that, you know, works well for your challenge. As well, don't always aim to sit with your friends. They might be distracting and you might end up, you know, chatting all the while. You know, there was at some point I was sitting with a guy, an acquaintance or a friend I would call him, and this guy, he talked almost throughout the class. He didn't write notes, and I found out that he already had a note that he got from people who had passed out of law school. So he was banking on that. All he needed to do was just cross-check as the lecturer was talking if, you know, what they were saying was in his note and all of that. I did not have that kind of note, so I needed to take notes. So I knew that I could not continue to sit with him. I changed spots. And then you might sit beside guys as a girl or sit beside girls as a guy and start to catch feelings. It might not work well for you, so you might need to change spots. Whatever the case, you need to get a vantage spot, a place that allows you to make the most of classes, to get the best out of lectures per day, to make your own notes the way you would understand and remember them, and, you know, to just enjoy your classes. So you don't have to sit with your friends and you don't have to sit with your enemies as well. If sitting with friends helps you, sit with them. If you're going to be sitting beside stenographers, it might encourage you, you know, to make notes and be detailed. So sit beside them by all means. Whatever works for you, but make sure you get a vantage sitting position. In law school, you can almost not get a seat to hide, so don't even try it, because lecturers move around. Even the House of Lords that receives less attention, sometimes lecturers decide that, oh, we are going to focus on you today or focus on you during this aspect of the class. So there's no hiding spot. Don't even try to look for a hiding spot, because even if the lecturers are not moving around, they can decide to call you by number. The first time I had a presentation in class, I wasn't hiding. I was sitting in the middle row at that time. I just heard my number 078, come up and present. Thank God I was prepared. It was group work, and thank God my group had done it and I participated, and I had, the presentation slide. I just went, slot it into their laptop, and I had a beautiful presentation. So there is really no hiding spot for you in law school. So don't even try to hide, but get a spot that is good for you. If you're on diuretics, for instance, you might want to get a spot that's close to exit so that you can go and urinate as much as possible, and so that you don't cause a scene. Because once you get up in law school class, everybody sees you. You're like the cynosure of all eyes for a few minutes before you can get out of class. So also get a seat, that works well for that. Whatever the case, whatever your peculiar, situation, make sure you get a vantage spot to sit in. That's true. The third tip that I want to share with you today is eat and drink as much as you should. Eat and drink as much as you should. Law school is a task, a full-time task. So it's not a place for you to skip meals, especially the necessaries. Breakfast, snacks and all of that. So you should get snacks in advance, which you put in your bag, probably snack on during classes. It's allowed, even though you have to be discreet about it, but you know that you need to get your system running, and if snacking does it for you, by all means snack. Also try to get something into your stomach in the morning, because between the period that you'd start lectures by 9 and 11:30 when you have your first break, it might be too long for you, depending on your system, your body system. So once you've understood your body system, it's important to eat and drink accordingly. Also get fluids to class, get water, get drinks. I always went to class with cocoa. I always had a water bottle with bitter cocoa and sugar that I always took to class, and I always had all these digestive biscuits or chocolate or something in my bag, which I snacked on during the class. It's very important to get your system running and keep it running during the class, because it helps assimilation, it helps understanding, and it helps you to be settled in class and not to get agitated in case lectures drag on for longer than you assumed or presumed. And in case sometimes lecturers can be like, okay, let's quickly finish this part of the lecture, so let's shift our break. Do we agree? Don't we agree? Even if you do not agree as an individual, if there's like a towering agreement from all and sundry, you know that your own might not count. So it's important to secure your stomach, secure your system with adequate food and drink, and make preparations and provisions too for what you would eat during the breaks. They sell food around school area during the break. They were supplied. There was Mama Kunando in Kano, and there was Gamzaki store where you could buy food during lectures. Because if you had to go back to Mami was like a far cry from the lecture area. So you have to carry money or get a credit card that you can use to buy stuff like that. Also, why I say it's important for you to have some snack is that stealing out of class to go buy snacks might not work well for you. There are times when it was outlawed, like they do not want to see you loitering around during classes because you're expected to eat during your break. So you might not have the chance to sneak out of class to go and get one thing or the other. And even if you had the chance, you know that you'll be missing out on the lecture for that period. So it's important for you to take care of your stomach business before you get to class. Very important. So make adequate provision for food and drink, and also eat after classes. It's very important. Eat after classes, eat before classes, eat during classes. If you're not fasting, make sure you're eating as at and when due. Very important. The fourth tip that I want to share with you today is study ahead of classes. Study ahead of classes, very important, because you could be called up at any point in time during classes to answer a question or to share your own opinion about a subject matter. Law school is more liberal and more fluid than whatever university you are coming from. which is a Nigerian university. I've been in one, so I know how it goes. So law school is a far cry from most universities. Lecturers want to actually hear your opinion in law school. They want to hear your assumptions. They want to hear, your conclusions. They want to see how you analyze issues and what you take out from scenarios. So it's important for you to study ahead of classes. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to get a hang of everything that you're going to do in class per day, but just try to read something. Get the textbooks ahead of classes, get the materials. They share outlines. Sometimes you have to make photocopies by yourself and all of that. Get them, study these outlines, read up something online, read up something in textbooks, go to the library. Just make sure that you understand just a little bit or bits and pieces of what you're going to be learning in class per day, so that you can contribute. The thing with law school is that even if you do not want to contribute, you might be compelled to contribute. So it's always important not to be caught unawares. Even if you're caught unawares, it's not a crime, and it's not a crime not to know the answer or to get it wrong. But it just helps your understanding, and it helps studies if you're able to participate adequately. And if by the time you get to class and the lecturer is talking, you remember, oh, I read that last night, oh, I've seen that before, I've come across that somewhere. It just helps, assimilation and learning. So it's important for you to study ahead. And what's more, you might be called upon at any time to make a presentation, to answer a question, to solve a puzzle, a legal puzzle, or to share your opinion in class. So it's important for you to never be caught unawares. So make sure you study ahead of class. The last tip that I want to share with you today is sit through classes. Sit through classes. I learned this from my university lecturer, Dr. Anifalaje, and I'll explain how. So Dr. Anifalaje taught us equity and trust, and I think one other subject. So they were mostly in the realm of common law, so they were not as interesting. Most of them were even abstract to me as a person. But I found out that because Dr. Anifalaje always insisted on finishing the syllabus, so our classes sometimes were not, the most quiet, because people will be chatting and all of that, because it got boring at some point. But there was one day she told us something. She said, even if you're not listening, pretend to be listening. That got to me, and honestly, it's a principle that I've practiced, since then. Even if you're not listening, even if you're not interested in the class, just sit through it, pretend to be listening. She said that, in the process of pretending, one thing or the other will enter your ears and enter your mind out of what she's teaching. And it's true. So you find that, later on, you begin to remember things that you didn't even pay attention to in class just by sitting through classes. So it's a very efficacious cheat code. Sit through your classes. Don't go on a frolic of your own. There are people who come to class, they thumbprint, and then they sneak out of school. Yes, I know that when I was in Kano, I was part of a committee that went to town to interview the Kano NBA chairman at the time, and we took due permission from school. When we were going with the clinic bus, the law clinic bus, we ran into some of our colleagues whose car had broken down in town, on the road to town actually. Nobody knew that they were going. I didn't know, that's what I mean, and I did not have to know. What I'm saying is that they had probably snuck out of school to go on a frolic of their own. It's not the best, okay? Please go to classes. No matter how boring law school lectures are, sit through them. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to pay full attention throughout the day. I mean, there might be no award for that. I don't even think that that's possible. So there will be times when you want a snack, where you just want to, chit chat with a colleague, maybe on something that the lecturer has said. Maybe you just share brief opinion. There will be times when you just browse through your phone briefly and return your attention to class. There will be times when you just daydream away, get lost in thoughts, and there will be times when you would even sleep off or doze off. Yes, people slept off in classes a lot. It's allowed in a way because lecturers understand that it's a full-time job. It's a tough one, but it's not every day that you go to class and sleep. So it's important for you, just sit through the class. We're going to be sitting all of our lives as lawyers. You go to a Nigerian court, you sit for 4 hours before they even call your case. Sometimes you sit for 6 hours, and at the end of the day, they tell you to pick a date. What are you going to do then? You get back to your law firm, you have to sit till closing hour, sit attending to, clients and whatever. So sitting is going to be part of, our profession. So why not just learn to sit now? Calm down and sit through classes, okay? If you're tired, you can doze off and come back. If you're hungry, you can snack off and come back. If you want to talk a bit, you can just chit chat a bit with your friends and return your attention to class. But it's important for you to remain in that class and have presence of mind, because the lecturer can call you at any time. They can be talking about what will come out in the exam. But if you're in class, it's easier for you to understand these things, to assimilate them consciously or unconsciously. The examples that the lecturer uses, it's easier for you to picture it in your mind if you have a pictorial mind like mine. So when you're making your exam notes, or when you're studying for exams, or even during exams, it's easier for you to remember, oh, the lecturer said this, or they said that. It's just better than not even being there at all. So make sure you sit through your classes. Very important. It has a lot of benefits more than disadvantages. When you sit through classes, sometimes you will exchange ideas. Maybe the lecturer said something that you disagree with and you don't want to share it with the whole class. You turn to the person next to you, and maybe the person also has a differing view. You exchange it. That's how you make friends sometimes, and that's how you learn something new sometimes. That's how your mind gets challenged sometimes. You know that you have to be quick-witted as a lawyer. So sitting through class will hone all these skills within you, and it will be better, and it will make you better off than those who do not come at all. This is not to say that if you're not in class, you can't study and pass for law school. But it's better for you to attend classes, sit through your classes, learn all you can, subconsciously and consciously. Learning is both subconscious and conscious, so it's better for you to explore, and harness all that you can in these two ways, for optimal results. And I wish you the very best with law school. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like the video, and leave me a comment. Have you been to law school? Are you currently in law school? Are you planning to go to law school? Leave me a comment and let's chat in the comment section. I will see you in my very next video. To-dos.